My name is Brian and welcome to Copycat Trading. Today is Monday, January the 22nd, 2024, and this is your daily market brief. Here is the S&P 500 and actually the spiders, SPY. And as you can see, we broke out on Friday of the all-time highs there, and then we went up further even today. We even gapped up higher and came back down today in light volume, 75 million shares, both post and pre-market and full market there. So it wasn't real heavy volume going up, but you're going to have to admit, as far as a technician, that there's going to be some euphoria breaking above these all-time highs. And the market's making it above these all-time highs, and of course the Q's making it above these all-time highs is going to set off a lot of buyers to be bullish. So we may have a pullback coming in the next few days just based up on market sentiment. And the way that works is if you get all the bulls or the bears on one side of the ship, then what happens is there's nobody left to buy or there's nobody left to sell, depending on which way the market's going. In this case, there will be nobody left to buy. And so therefore, you might get a pullback in the market. So we'll just have to wait and see. There's all kinds of institutions, I'm sure, that have been sitting on the sideline waiting to see what will happen to the market. Will it make all-time highs? Is it going to fall down? Is there going to be a recession, etc.? And since we made all-time highs, they have hit a benchmark to where they're going to be able to jump back into the market. So I look for the market to go up even further. And I told you a few weeks ago that if we make all-time highs, the spiders, the S&P 500, probably will hit the 5,000 mark. And I'm not going to go into what that looks like. You can look that up for yourself. But we are in, suffice to say, we are in a strong uptrend on the daily market, and we are on an uptrend on the weekly. So both these moving averages are making their way up, and on the daily it's making its way up. So we're on a strong uptrend on the daily, and of course we've taken out the all-time highs and even gapped up even further today. So we gapped up further and we came back down, like I said, on light volume and 0.21% when the day was over $1.02 on the SPY. Now, if we look at the 10-minute chart, the way that it worked intraday, and let me just take off the extended hours. The way it looked like at the end of the day is we gapped up during the day, and we initially went up on pretty good volume. Lots of people trying to get involved here, and then came back down and just kind of stayed in a real choppy area for the whole day, right in a nice little range. And so it wasn't like it was a crazy volatile day today, but it did. People are just still on the euphoria of breaking the all-time highs, and since they're breaking the all-time highs, people are getting involved and gapping the market up. Like I said, usually that's going to lead to a pullback. And like I've told you in other videos, whenever you have a meteoric rise, you are generally going to have a meteoric decline as well. And it may not be that big, but it very well could come back at least to the 20 moving average. All right, as far as the QQQ, we're going to be the same exact pattern today, but 0.13% up or 55-cent gain. And after taking out all the all-time highs at this location, we went up on light volume just like we did on the SPY. And we came back in with a red candle. Of course, we started up higher and we came down lower for the final. There's no earnings announcements that are coming out in the next couple of days that would affect probably the SPY or the QQQ. So expect that there to be just some still euphoria in the market and the steady rise of the market. And there may be some nice easy pullbacks coming, just to normal corrections, but nothing that's going to shake the market till we get to the good earnings later on this month. As far as the Russell goes, the Russell had a very bullish move. Remember, if you remember right, this was a bear flag, and the bear flag broke down, came down to the 50 MA, and then it's popped back up. That is a bullish move for the Russell and all the stocks in it. Russell 2000 represents 2,000 of the small cap stocks. And so whenever you get the Russell 2000 acting like this is actually telling us that we have a little bit more risk on. And people are, like I said, euphoric in the markets. Now, the Russell's still got a long ways to go to its all-time highs. Its all-time highs are way up here, so it's got quite a ways to go before it hits that, and quite a bit of resistance to get through. But still, we had a good reaction of the Russell 2000 today, and it finished up 2.14%, which is a really good day for the Russell in the last few weeks compared to what it has done. It's just done this slow drift downward over the last couple of weeks, and it's just taken a good $4.11 gain today. As far as gold has been kind of lackluster as well. There hasn't been much movement in gold. You can see that we opened up here and we closed down here. We opened up here on Friday. We closed down here for a 0.41% decline today, so not much movement. But silver, on the other hand, is continuing that pattern down of that head and shoulders. And remember, I told you in previous videos, we've got two patterns going on here. An inverse head and shoulders that is bigger on the weekly. And then we have a regular head and shoulders on the daily that is right here. And there's the neckline. And we broke that over here on last, looks like Tuesday, January the 9th. And we have not been able to come up, and we tested that neckline there on January the 12th, but it didn't. It rejected it off of it. And you can see we've had a slow decline. And so the ultimate target for that head and shoulders is down here about just below 1943. And if we get down to that level, if we get down here to 19, if we get some follow through and get down to 19, then we sure could have a buying opportunity on silver. But that's what silver's pattern was today. Natural gas. And what can I say about natural gas? Natural gas is just, this entire year has actually, the last 6-8 months has just continued to flabbergast me. We had this nice higher lows and higher highs in this area, stretching back all the way to March the 30th after this meteoric descent, and came all the way down here and then began this higher highs and higher lows. And then it broke that pattern and came down here. And right as that cold snap began to happen in the United States, then it really began to get some volume into it and start this slow tread upwards. And I really believed that we were probably going to be going back up and challenging that 360 level, but it never did. It actually continued to break down and continues to go down. I'm going to hold on to my natural gas holdings because I ultimately believe, and of course this is probably a little more of a emotional decision, I really believe that we're going to have a much bigger recovery in this. And all I have to do is just go back to the weekly chart, and let's reset our scale here. And when we go back to our weekly chart, you can see that we're actually at some pretty good lows here and some really good resistance here. We could still come back down in these areas, but like I said, we're probably going to wind up coming down here, testing something, and then we're going to wind up going up, I think, way up here. And again, that could be a failed fundamental analysis, and I just taught a small class on that. If you want to get access to that, it's on the YouTube channel and on the Twitter or on the X feed in here. And so you can maybe a flawed emotional fundamental analysis, but I've got a very small position in natural gas. I've sold out as I've gone all the way up here and only had a small percentage whenever I was up here, and I've just slowly accumulated here and here on the way down. And at some point, whenever it gets down to these lows, I'll accumulate a little bit more, and then I'll stop and wait for natural gas to go back up. Natural gas has no fundamental weakness with it. There's not anything that looks like it could eclipse it at any point. So once I get it, I can just wait until we get a good pop and then make a good profit on natural gas. But that's where I'm at with the natural gas chart. It is definitely harder than what other commodities are to predict what it's going to do. As far as U.S. oil goes, oil is looking better. It's actually trying to challenge this upper wedge pattern here. And if it breaks through that wedge pattern, then we could have some upside, even up to $80. And I'll show you something that somebody showed me today, and that is we actually have an inverse head and shoulders on this. It's a very steep line, so I don't like the way the line looks necessarily. But here is the inverse head and shoulder. So you got a left shoulder here, and then a head, and then a right shoulder here, which it broke out right there on January the 18th. And then it came back and checked the line a little bit, and now it's up. So we actually do have an inverse head and shoulder. And if that plays out, then we may have a pretty good climb. There's the line. May have a pretty good climb up here about this far. Let's see what that breaks up to. Looks like up to about $82 if that works out and the head and shoulders pattern actually plays out. We'll see whether or not that actually works or not. It's right about there, I'm sorry, $82.80. So we may have a break up to $83 if it plays out, but we'll just have to wait and see what happens with that head and shoulders pattern. This is a very steep line, and the steeper the line, the less likelihood it is to play out. So we'll just have to wait and see. But until that gets broken, that head and shoulders pattern is still intact, and I'll draw that out a little bit better probably tomorrow. As far as Bitcoin goes, Bitcoin continues to break down, and like I said, if it breaks this low right here, then we could have a downside down here at about 37.8 on Bitcoin before we get our next bounce. But right now it's at support. We'll see if it holds the support, and it's actually below the support. And if it breaks that support, look for further downside on Bitcoin. If it goes up, you've still got the resistance line right here, and you've still got several resistance lines as we go up in this range. But lackluster performance from Bitcoin. All right, as far as the semiconductors go, semiconductors are at all-time highs, just like the S&P, just like the QQQ, and we're up here at uncharted territory on the SMH, so we'll just wait until we get a pullback and get some more information on it. It's still in a strong uptrend, and the semiconductors usually are a leading indicator on how the overall market is. In the semiconductors, we've got NVIDIA, and of course, NVIDIA is part of the Magnificent Seven, and it has just done magnificently over the last few months. And NVIDIA again hit all-time highs again this morning. Seems like every day you get up, you get a new high, all-time high of semiconductors and NVIDIA, and we're up 2.27%. So not a lot, $1.63, which is a pretty small gain for NVIDIA, believe it or not. Apple had a pretty good run today, and if you remember, I had this gap predicted as my first target way back here when I first bought in, and then the system came, or the stock went up and came back down and stopped me out, which I was irritated about, but I still left it alone. That's just one of the rules I have. And so, Apple did its move without me. But Apple's probably going to come up here. We still got pretty good resistance right in this range right here, and we've got resistance right at this top right here. Its all-time highs, it will challenge in just a few short trading days if it continues on its path, and it went up 1.22% today, or $2.33. Actually played Apple up here at this resistance level and made some pretty good money today on a day trade, which I'll try to get a video out for a day trade this week to you guys. Tesla is not doing good. It's actually looking rather bearish, especially since it has broken this upsloping trend line. And I remember it barely held on Friday. It came up and right up here and closed above that trend line, but now it has broken down below it and actually had a close below it. We'll see if it has further downside tomorrow, which will kind of confirm this move of a break of this trend line. And if it does, then you've got a stopping point right here, and then the next stopping point is sub 200 down here, $153, which in my opinion, and of course this is another fundamental analysis subject to emotion, and if you want to know what I'm talking about, go back and watch those videos that I made this last weekend. But down here, $152, and if it comes down here, it'll be a magnificent buying opportunity in my opinion. All right, Microsoft. As far as Microsoft goes, Microsoft's still at its all-time highs. Of course, it closed down below its all-time high today. Just had a nice minor pullback, not very much, just a normal pullback in its normal operations. And then Meta had a pullback today as well, but not much of one. This is its all-time high, and it broke above that all-time high and came right back in. So it was rejected to close above its all-time high, but it still operated up here. And then Netflix had the same exact, actually Netflix has got a ways to go before it gets to its all-time high, if I remember right. Yeah, it's got a ways to go. We're entering into resistance. This gap right here really stopped it. And of course, you got all these pivots down here or up here that are stopping it from moving forward. But it's just building a base right here. As long as it builds this base, if you look at the weekly chart, as long as it's building this base, it is still a kind of a bullish consolidation, in spirit of bullish consolidation, getting ready to move up further. The only thing that would make it reject off of this line probably would be a market decline. But at this point, it's no sweat. So it looks like it's going to do just fine right now. Nothing wrong with the chart. Good uptrend. Google is just a few dollars away from its all-time highs. Its all-time high looks like about $151.55. It went up and challenged some resistance today and then got rejected off of that, just like the rest of the market. But large part, Google is just fine, and you can see higher highs, higher lows, and a nice strong uptrend going with Google. So nothing wrong there. I certainly wouldn't get in front of it and short it at all. I was thinking about shorting it at this point today and just completely slipped my mind. But Google ran into some resistance today, but overall Google is doing good and a nice strong uptrend. It's a good chart. All right, if you'd like to have more items covered in these videos, please let me know in the comments and give me a thumbs up if you would, and maybe subscribe to the channel if you'd like to hear more videos like this on a daily basis. Hopefully this is helping some of you get a technical analysis of what's going on in the overall market. I'm not covering any specific charts, but you'll see a little bit about what the technical analysis looks like and what the fundamental analysis looks like and how I look at them differently if you'll watch the videos that I made this last weekend. All right, everybody, this is the Copycat Trader, and I'm going to be signing off at this point, and I'll be making some more videos maybe tomorrow of having how to do the day trade on various techniques, and I'll just give you some demonstrations on those. All right, for now, I will go, and I will talk to you guys on the charts tomorrow. Have a great day.